Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Full Circus. That was a bit exaggerated, but my name is Tristan Sartoris, and I'm happy to be here with you guys today. And let me tell you, I am sore. So, if you've been listening to the past few episodes of the podcast, the main theme has been dread. Okay, it's been anxiety and fear and weakness and woefulness and other negative synonyms and words that mean, I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing? Okay, so long story short, I wanted to run a marathon at one point. I couldn't because my knees were hurting. My uncle was like, hey, I heard you wanted to do like an obstacle race. I said, sure, that sounds great because I'm thinking 2-3 miles, no problem, won't hurt the knee. Come to find, when he offers it up, I'm like, hey, this is exciting. I'm so easily stoked and amped. I was not aware the details of the race was several miles, thousands of feet of elevation through the mountains, and over half a marathon, and hours of training, and months of work with 30 plus obstacles. And I had kind of ignored that for months leading up to this race. This is a Spartan, a warrior race where you need to train like a freaking man, okay? You need to be training like, like you're trying to run a race of a very difficult pursuit. And I was not doing that because I was riding on a high. You guys know me. I'm so easily just excitable, and I'm so easily, this is going to be the greatest thing ever, that I overlook details and requirements. And this is a fault of mine. So, months go by where I should have been training until I really realized just how daunting this was. And you can go back and watch the podcast and see exactly when that is. And I go, hey, I might have stepped in the wrong puddle of inconvenience here. So months had gone by, and while I was supposed to be getting leaner and getting stronger, I had actually started out at a pretty good place, and I was getting fatter and weaker, and I was not going in the right direction. Now, this all accumulated at the same time where there was a bunch of conflicting issues with job and career and health and moving and people and relationship and then regular health. I would try to train, and I kept getting so amped and excited. I get stoked. I go, this is amazing. I'm doing great. And I would overdo it and hurt myself and hurt my knee specifically. So my regimen, if you will, was not the greatest leading up to this thing. And it was really just the last 3 weeks or so that I tried to dial it in and put it freaking, go forward. Which, if you know anything about races, is not the correct time to be doing it. So I slacked off this whole time. Now I'm calling it slacking, but do I have some good excuses? You be the judge. Go watch back. They're pretty good. But anyways, I had slacked off. And the last weeks leading up to this thing, I'm like, I gotta do it. I can't, I've already gained all this weight. I've already gotten so weak for this thing. I've already consumed all the dread and anxiety. I have to commit and really make a run for this thing. No pun intended. So I start training balls to the wall hard. Again, this is how I keep injuring myself, but I just go hard, and I'm running miles and miles and miles every day. No days off in between. And I'm carrying these 120-pound sandbags miles out and miles back. And I'm climbing. And I'm doing all the things necessary to be a champion. Again, not the opportune time to be doing this. Great. It makes a great montage if you want to watch a Rocky movie. But in terms of smartness and physical science, I was in the wrong. So I'm doing all this and just giving it my absolute best while everyone else is like, all right, we've done all the proper work. Let's just recover and relax and kind of coast until we can really give it our all. I was skyrocketing to more and more. In fact, right before I had left to go to the race, I had ran an extra 3 miles. Everyone's like, hey, just don't do anything. Just relax. I'm like, I feel like I just need a little bit more charge in my heart and my cardiovascular system. I go to VO2 max. I'm going to book it. And I ran 3 miles as fast as I possibly could. Broke my record, new PR, felt accomplished. But then I was like, oh, now my heart is tight. My chest hurts. I'm sore. And my knees are really feeling it. Oh, I remembered. I'm stupid. So then we hop in this car. And everyone's like, hey, everyone's ready. We're all ready. We've done the proper things. I'm like, yeah, we've all proper. We've done it proper, of course. We've all, yeah, this is great. I'm not in pain. And we shuttle out here. And I'm pretty nervous about the whole thing. But, I got 12 hours or so before I got to run. Surely that's enough time to relax and get in the proper mindset, and I'll be able to do what's coming forth. So that takes us to right before the race, about 8 hours before the race. In fact, we're in this hotel and we're waiting. Actually, everyone else is sleeping. I'm waiting to fall asleep, and I can't. One, because I'm nervous. I'm a thinker, dude. So I'm thinking about all these different things, and I'm in pain, and I'm in a new place, and I'm just, I'm not good at falling asleep in my own routine, let alone when I'm out of one. So I've already kind of screwed up my whole training regimen and how proper of an athlete I was supposed to be for this whole thing. And so I've been asking for advice and good, like, what should I do for the diet in the weeks leading up? What should I be eating? And I was taking this all very seriously. But up at this point, I need to sleep. And all recommendations went out the window. So while everyone else was sleeping, I journey out a mile in the middle of the night in Indiana to find a grocery store, and I load up on oatmeal cookies and just some granola bars, and then I threw in some gummy bears and gummy worms just for kicks, along with a half a gallon of chocolate milk. Oh, what a diet! Okay? Is that not the diet of a champion? When you think about the people who fight for the country and the people who really, lay their lives on the line, when they got to be a warrior, when they got to have the proper nutrition to go the distance, is that what you think they have? No! But that is how I was able to kind of put my dread and pain and nerves to rest. And I was able to fall asleep for about 4 hours. So, lots of training, no sleep, no nutrition. I'm sore, I'm broken, and I'm leading into the biggest race of my life. Oh, hey, guys, you want to talk about the stars aligning? You want to talk about, proper circumstances? This ain't it! So, you can imagine how I was feeling as we donned these massive ski slopes, and they're like, this is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. I go, let's get it. Let's go after it, okay? So this race starts, and, we're all surrounded by a bunch of people, rah, it's a Spartan, hurroo, 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 and it's excited, and I'm feeding off the energy, right? I'm tired, I'm sore, and I don't feel well equipped, but you know what? The energy and the vibes, it's pumping, it's fueling me. So I'm doing well, actually. And I feel like I could run for miles, and I feel like I was going slower than I need to. I could really be booking it, and I was crushing these first little obstacles: swing, monkey bar, climb, easy, no problem. People were running, and people that were in great shape, they were running right next to me. I'm like, I could score some people. Now, this lasted about 22 minutes before I ran across the hole just like this, and I seemed to have hyperextended my knee. Within the first hour of this course, there was going to be several. My knee basically folded, and I was like, oh, okay, interesting. And that was the beginning part of the course. So now I can barely put pressure on my right knee. And, that's how the race was, okay? I could barely run. And my brother was with me as well, and he was struggling, and he was like, just going without me. He's like, I can barely step on my right leg, let alone run on it, okay? So we're hobbling through these mountains, and my uncle and my cousin, they're so, kind, and they're waiting up for us, and I was like, just go on without it. I can barely move. And I really didn't want to quit because there's been so many months of anxiety and dread, and more than anything, more than the pain and more than how far we've come in this race already, as we've been traversing, I was like, just the emotional wear that I've taken on this thing, I can't let it be for nothing. So we're hobbling, and hours are going by. We're about 4 or 5 hours in at 6 miles. Now, this is a 13, 14-mile course, and I realized very quickly it's not in the cards. I feel like my knee is about to blow up. And not only that, but I was also told to be very safe. And the reason I didn't run a marathon in the first place, the reason I chose an obstacle course is because I didn't want to hurt my knee. So now I'm like, I had come to terms with it. I'm walking through this field, and it's freaking 86 degrees out, just beaming alone, and people are running past me. I'm like, I can't walk this distance. I can't walk for this long. I feel like I've got maybe 10 more steps left in me. So we're just walking, and this is where the triumphance came through, and this is where the sign came in. My brother, who was also in bad shape, and I was like, hey, if you want to stop, I'm going to stop. Because I can't do this, and not only if I can, I don't think it's going to be good for me. So I tell my uncle, I tell my cousin, you guys have been so kind, you've waited up for us, it's just not in the cards. I tried, of all the circumstances, I gave it my best shot, but it's just not okay. So I'm like, hey, get out of here. We're going to go get a truck. We'll see you at the finish line. So we're sitting there, and we're discussing how we're supposed to get somebody to come help us. We don't have our phones or do anything, so we're sitting there. I'm like, all right, let's go get a truck. And he's like, no. I'm like, huh? He says, no truck. We're going to walk to the next place and then get a truck or something like that. And I didn't really understand what he was talking about, but I was like, why? So I was ready to bail, okay? And he wanted to keep going. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll keep hobbling for you. So we keep moving, and we're like, okay, well, usually there's like a station every mile or so. So 20 more minutes, if that's going to be enough where he feels satisfied and accomplished, if we make it halfway through this thing, then we can get shuttled out by all means. So we're walking, and there's several people we end up passing who are laying on the ground, and they're cramping, and they're broken, and they're ripped, and they got the ultras and the jerseys on. They're like, this course is so hard, and I don't know if we can make it. And I'm talking to people along the way, and they're like, yeah, this is a tough one. I run the Colorado ones. This one is even harder than that in those mountains. I'm like, oh, geez. Well, I don't feel so bad about quitting then because I don't know what I'm doing. Talk to another guy. He's like, yeah, this is, how many times you been doing this? I'm like, no, this is my first time. He's like, oh, first time doing the beast, huh? I was like, no, first anything like this. He's like, what? Why are you starting on the long race through the mountains? I was like, I don't know. So we're hobbling. We're thinking we're going to go get to this next station. Now, the thing about being a slow racer is by the time you get to this next station, there's not always helpers or assistants there. So we hobble, and we're like, okay, if we feel good, we feel fine with quitting. Get me out of here! There's nobody around. So we're like, we're in the middle of nowhere. How many miles away from the base camp? No idea. Lost, traveled up in mountains, basically like this, just vertical, up and down and up and down. I'm like, what are you supposed to do? Either sit and wait for, I don't know what kind of animals Indiana has, but wait for them to come get us, or hobble again to another station. So we hobble up through more mountains, dude, just dying, and people are falling down behind us, and leaving people in our wake, and we're just trying to quit and trying to stop, but all I want to do is find a way to quit. The only reason I'm still walking right now is for the opportunity to stop. So we walk, and there's no more stations for a couple miles. We hit mile 10 at this point. We've completed some obstacles. We're still running. We're like doing a little bit of jogging, like getting into it a little bit, passing out, no water, and just trying to find a way to stop. Now, at this point, we reach like mile 11 and a half or something. And we find this new water, and I see some people that are right there, assistants or, whoever works for the race. And then we look at mile 11 and we just walked another 5 miles. Now at this point, I can almost hear the sound of the finish line just off in the distance. Now, sure, this was kind of a red herring because it was like an extra 3 hours of movement still left to go. But the idea is well, now I wanted to quit, and I went 5 miles from my quitting point. I think I might be able to have another 2 in me. So we discuss it, and we decide to keep moving on. And then there's this little kind of juke out where you're running, and you're like at mile 12, and you have 1 mile to go. I'm thinking, well, even at my slowest walking, okay, we were doing some jogging where we could, which was a bad idea, but you know what? I'm easily excitable. Oh, yeah! And I start running on my freaking knee and making it worse. Stupid idea. But we're 1 mile out. I'm thinking, at my slowest, that's 20 minutes from finishing. 20 minutes. We can see the finish line. It's right next to us. Maybe it's not a 13, 14-mile race. Maybe it is a 12. Maybe it is miscounted. The finish line is literally feet from us. The race goes, oh, here comes the finish line. And it sends you back up into the mountains. And there's another, I want to say an hour and 45 left of mountain traversing, climbing obstacles, and so on. So just really dying, man. And I think the obstacles were a great kind of challenge. I did all of them. And that was kind of like an extra boost because it was just all upper body, especially where my knee couldn't work anymore. I loved all the climbing, any sort of climbing. I was stoked on it. The sandbag stuff, I did kind of mess up my knee even more because I was like, I've been training for this. I've been training sandbags. And there's this whole big mudslide and you got to throw it on your shoulder and go up a huge thing. And it's so wet and it's so like impossible to do. And the Lord blessed me with the right footholds or something, but I like just sprinted up it because I was like, I got to get this over with as fast as possible. And I scorched everybody. It was my own little moral victory because I sucked the whole way going through. But it did help catch up in some time. Point is, this was going on for way too long, and we were so sore, and eventually after that extra hour and a half, about 8 hours into this race, somehow we ran some more. Again, probably shouldn't have, but we ran some more and jumped over this fire pit and crossed the finish line. Oh, and that is how champions are born. Was it slow? Of course. Was it what I wanted it to be? No. Do I feel okay? Do my knees feel fine? Do I feel healthy? Not one bit. But you know what? Okay. At the end of the day, I have a shirt and I have this freaking medal to prove that I did it. And honestly, in some weird, twisted way, like part of me is like, well, I know I could do better. I know that if I don't screw up my knee in some way, or if I'm a little bit smarter with my knees at least, like I could blame the terrain as much as I want and say, oh, that was an accident that the knee thing happened. But, I'm pretty reckless when it comes to my body, and I know that. So if I was a little bit smarter, like my cardio, I felt fine. I didn't feel like I was really out of breath, and that was partly because I wasn't running that much. But it was really just my knee, and I feel like I could do it again, and I could do it faster. But in some way, this thing, the slow finish means a lot to me because I had reached my breaking point, like my genuine, I can't go on anymore. I'm in so much pain, and then still did it. So I'm proud of myself, and I try not to be proud of myself ever. I'm kidding. That's like the worst advice you could ever give somebody. If you want to be humble, you got to make sure you just never let yourself ever feel some sort of accomplishment in any way. So anyways, I've been limping a little bit and we got the race done. That's a long story, but point being, it's the summation, the summary, the conclusion, the conglomerate. It is the final piece of the puzzle, the third act of all these, I've been taking like the 5 or 10 minutes every episode to be like, guys, help me. And we did it. Thank you. Jesus. I've been blowing kisses. And we got it done. So pretty amped, guys. I'm pretty freaking amped. So outside of that, man, what's been going on? Ironically, after the race was finished, my diet's been cleaner than ever. I feel like there's just something about having everything stacked and so many things like weighing and so many things coming that it made me even worse. But my diet has been even cleaner, and I haven't been able to do a lot of leg stuff, but I've been more strict with my training and everything just in the days right after. I'm like, all right, I feel like I'm finally back in a good rhythm. However, my sleep still sucks. I can't fix that. I don't know what to do about it. It's not, I could wake up at 5 a.m. and I will not be tired until 2 or 3. That's just the way that it be. I don't know why. I mean, I know why. It's because my brain is like, this is funny. This is funny. What about this? Or I'm just imagining things. I'm playing in my own land. Last night, I had a, so it's really stupid. But the idea was that there's this guy. We'll call him Carl. And Carl is like a cowboy detective, right? He's got a bit of a southern accent. And he's got 2 friends. One is named Wendy, and one is named Greg, or something like that. Now, with his little southern accent, anytime he says, when did he anything, it's kind of round and it sounds Wendy. So they would talk about somebody that had already left. And he'll go, Wendy go. And then she'd be like, why do I have to leave? And it's just the dumbest thing ever. But the idea that she keeps getting upset, and then they'd be like, oh, yeah, so eventually, did you hear about Mark? He stopped smoking. He quit. And they're like, oh, wait, Wendy stopped. You're like, I'm not doing anything. That's so stupid. But it kept me up for hours because all I could imagine was this stupid little cartoon. And it's not even that funny. But what's making me laugh is how silly it is, and then the silliness makes me laugh a little bit, and the fact that I'm laughing at the little bit of silliness makes me laugh even more, and then the more that I laugh at the little bit of silliness that I'm laughing more, makes me laugh a ton. So now that I'm laughing a ton, I had to share it with you. So that's what I've been thinking about a lot. And it's just, dude, the dumbest things keep you up. Isn't that crazy? I could be thinking about anything. Some people dread about their family or their career or financial situation or what they're going to have for breakfast tomorrow. And I'm just thinking about cartoon situations with one little gag. And where else could I put that? Wendy, do this. When did I do what? No, when did he do this? Wendy! Yeah, Tyler, he stopped talking. Wendy, shut up. What? Why do I'm not talking to you, Wendy. So yeah, I'm pretty hyped on that, man. That's good. It's not like, I wouldn't repeat that to anybody in a professional comedy sense. But yeah, I thought it was fun. And I'm going to keep on thinking about that until my brain finally figures out how to stop. So anyways, yeah, I'm just, looking forward to finally getting my life back on track and getting some things in order. I'm finally scheduling that improv class, and that will be interesting. And then I can get into some stand-up comedy where, again, I'm not going to, maybe that'll be my bit. I'll be the Wendy guy. I'm like, wait, Wendy do this. When did he do this? That's all about enunciation. It's a big lesson. It could be a children's book. But now it feels like it's, attacking the cowboy culture and Southerns as a whole, and that's not okay. But, we'll think about it. Yeah, I'll be interested. I really hope to start stand-up soon after I've gotten rid of one big thing that was looming, and now I can take on a new hurdle. Hey, who's this new hurdle? Let me leap. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not like a big one-liner or a gimmicky kind of style of comedy. I think I like more story stuff. I would like to do like long stories with little tags and jabs, and I don't know. I would like to write one-liners, I guess, but I just don't think that's my style. Sometimes they come to me, but I don't use them. Well, I just thought of this one actually as I was eating breakfast. I thought, why did the narcissist not eat dinner? Because he was full of himself. Hey-yo! Came up with that one on the spot. Thank you, Frosted Flakes. And I don't know if it's funnier if he skipped dinner or breakfast. But maybe I think skipping breakfast is even more powerful because that's when you're like, I haven't had anything. I'm not going to get into the science. Listen, it's a pretty highbrow joke. So if you don't get it immediately, then there's no point in really digging deeper. So guys, I know that's not a ton of stuff to really talk about. Like, it's just kind of skimming the surface of my recent troubles. But this past week since I recorded mostly involved just a little bit of work and just training and pain and just stupid Wendy jokes. But you know what? That's this podcast. When you come for full life and fresh to death life, that's what you get. So I'm just stoked that I completed. I'm stoked that I finished it. And I was freezing, so I put on this stupid little, button thing and the new hat and all this. And there's a lot to talk about, really. But I'm sweltering and I'm sore and I need ice. And I'm just so thankful that to be done. I'm so thankful that you guys tune in. I'm thankful for having you here and having a good time. So I think we're closing. I think there's nothing else for me to say. Yeah, I don't know. We can rattle down some quick things, I guess. What have we got here? What have we got to look at? I went golfing as well before and after the race. Very difficult as well once the knee. Like, I couldn't really put pressure on it. I think it helped my golf game a little bit because I was able, like, when I sit in front of something, they're like, don't swing at the ball hard. Golf is all about finesse. You gotta play the rhythm. And I'm like, what if I hit it really hard with bad rhythm? We're going to be okay. But I wasn't able to do that because of my bad knee. And I feel like I golfed a little bit better. I, however, did leave my sunglasses in the golf cart, and I'm pretty bummed about that. So yeah, that's just a quick little look into what it's like golfing with me. I was finally doing good, and then I lost my sunglasses. So bummed. And one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen in my life. My brother was golfing. I'm sure he doesn't care if I tell this, but even if he does, who cares? So he was golfing, and he had a smaller club, I guess he had found, and it was pitching wedge, and he was kind of near the top of it, just so we could kind of reach. And he, like me, he just swung as hard as he could. And I don't know if his hands were wet or his grip just failed him. So I see him step up to take this hit, and I'm like, oh, let's see, maybe he's going to get a good shot. But I don't really want him to get a good shot because I want to do better than him. And I watch to see where the ball's going to go. But then I look over to the left across the sunrise. I see a club. And of all the places, look, losing the club. To swing and let go of the club is hilarious in its own right. If he would have thrown it 10 feet, I would have died laughing. But it launches into the air. And then it falls in a lake. It just drowns and he loses the club completely. So in one hit, I'm like, all right, let's see. Hopefully he doesn't do that great. I mean to prey on someone's downfall, but I want to do better. And I see a chunk of dirt. I see the ball and I see the club spinning all in one. He just threw everything he could in the earth. And I kid you not, I fell on the ground laughing. For like a minute, just my core strength, pain, like I forgot about the knee completely. I was so happy as a person. My soul had never been so aligned. You know, have you ever been so happy where you feel like my life is complete? You know, I've run the race. I've done all the things I've really wanted to do. And now I've seen the funniest thing life has to offer. And I fell on the ground just crying, laughing. It's so funny. So good, man. I did stop laughing for a second because I thought he had lost. I heard my dad say, which one of those clubs did you lose? Or something like that. I couldn't hear it. He's like, when did you do that? And she's like, do what? Yeah, I thought he was in trouble. And I was like, oh, shoot. Is there something about to go down? Like, is he good? But then I figured I'd not. But it doesn't matter. So funny, dude. So funny. I love life, man. As sore and as painful, as inconvenient as it can be, dude. It's just those little moments, the little things where you see somebody throw a club in the lake and you're like, things are going to be okay, okay? Knee, pain, health, whatever. Things are going to be all right. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Full Circus. Enunciate, okay? You don't want to be like Carl the Cowboy. That wasn't his name before. Shit, that's my dad's name, and I think it's pretty good. But anyways, yeah, you want to make sure you enunciate. Full Circus. I'm so happy to have you guys. Next week, I'll hopefully walk in and not throw crutches at the wall. But yeah, thank you. I love you guys. I will see you next week, and we will be back on the road for having new, fresh stories that are not about dread and anxiety. Hopefully. But, you know, who doesn't love a good story of, hey, look at this guy. He's about to suffer. Like, it was kind of like watching me throw my mental clubs in the lake all day long. And a lot of people seem to enjoy my misfortune as I enjoyed his poetry in motion. Guys, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next episode.